Hey all, and welcome back to Pokémon Swords post-game. We've got a little sting of Hulberry's wonderful theme there, and it felt like I was having a bit of an acid attack for a second. But there's, second verse, same as the first. We're still going to be doing raids and whatnot. So, last time we talked about how we felt about the post-game in general. Now I think it's time to actually dig down deep and talk about Sword's handling of story and whatnot as a whole. So, Richie, why don't you start us off, mate? How do you feel the game handled story? How do you feel it handled characters? How do you feel it paced itself?
So, how it handled story... It handled it. It didn't necessarily do it very well. Like, it had an excellent final act, but it didn't really have anything going on until that final act. So pacing-wise, it was shocking. It's not that I didn't have a good time, it was just that there was no story. In terms of how it handled characters, I think it did a pretty good job, though that is pretty much exclusively with Hop than literally anybody else. But I think, in a way, the main example of probably the best way that they've done a story in a Pokemon game is probably if you go to Black and White and Black and White 2.
Absolutely,
I think that's probably the most effective narrative arc and structure that they've ever done. And while obviously I never want them to wholesale repeat that, I think that they maybe need to have a look back at why that worked and bring it back into play for the next game, because while I enjoyed my time with Sword and Shield and I enjoyed the story or what there was of it, it was very much just like a non-entity and not particularly special. I enjoyed Sword and Shield because it was a Pokemon game, but it wasn't anything that I thought was the most amazing thing ever. And I want to feel that from Pokemon games. Like, I want to feel that it is up there with sort of the rest of gaming's greats, and it just it coasts a little bit too much for my liking.
Coasting is how I would describe the handling of story in Pokemon in general. They seem afraid to expand it to the level of other RPGs and whatnot, and granted it is, at the end of the day, a cockfighting simulator with a little bit of story glaze on top of it, but you could easily do deeper stories with Pokemon. We've seen it in spin-offs, we've seen it in additional side content and whatnot, and this is the same system that also has Dragon Quest S11 or whatever it's called, and just the disparity between the two in terms of story and content is a little bit tough to swallow.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, Pokemon has got very comfortable with its story formula, and it's one of the things that I wouldn't really want Pokemon to completely drop everything, because at the end of the day, this particular setup, it works, but you kind of need a bit of flavour for each time around, and this game, because it rushes you past any little inkling of story you might get to right at the end, the final product you get is honestly a bit generic, and that is probably one of the biggest curses you can get for something like this, because what people take away from a story, there's the story beats themselves, which if you enjoy the tale that's being told, then you just get that from it. But what tends to stick with people a lot more is the tone and the atmosphere, and that is crafted more so from all the little moments coming together. And this game just doesn't have those little moments to come together. It's either you fight in a gym, you're in the wild area, you're on a route, or you just got the big bit at the end which kind of has no build up, and it just leaves it feeling very sterile, honestly. There's not much that I would take away. I know we've had the discourse constantly about this game's being rushed and what was taken out and what was left in and whatever stuff's been left off to the DLC and shit like that, but ultimately it's the story that shows all the very obvious holes from development, because animations and shit you can look past, but for an RPG you want a story to kind of keep you invested along the way, and you can't fix that with post-game DLC. You can't fix that by adding more Pokemon to the Pokédex. It's literally just this game's entire structure is empty, and unless they do like a full revision, like say Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon later down the line, it's gonna stay like that. And like that's what sticks out to me most about this game's incompleteness. It is that there's no story really. It's just the most basic bitch excuse for a story, and there's not really much to stick with you because of that.
Yeah, I think the only game that had a weaker, well, little story as Sword and Shield was Red and Blue, and that's going back 20 years now, so...
Plus that also had the excuse of everything there was new, so like the idea of having your gym challenge, you go travel around, you catch these mysterious creatures and you can battle them, that was very fresh in people's minds, but like when you get to the 8th generation, this is our 8th time around doing this if you haven't played the other spin-offs and sequels and stuff, and so it's like, this is Gen 1 again, really. It's basically Gen 1 in 3D, and like we literally had Gen 1 in 3D last year, so you kind of got, like, there's nothing new really,
No, and I mean, I suppose one of the arguments that I think tends to get thrown around sometimes, I don't think it's the right argument to be making, is that, like, so every generation of Pokemon, it's always going to be someone's first generation of Pokemon, so it's always going to be new to someone, and so maybe they won't necessarily notice the things that we're noticing because we've been with it for such a long time. But with that said, like, there is no excuse for not putting in sort of more effort to make it fresher for those who have been with the series for a while, because actually they're the ones who are clearly going to stick around because we've stuck around this bloody long. So
yeah.
Like, if you can manage to make both sides happy in some way, then, like, you're on to a winner.
Yeah, but it's kind of, like, ironically amusing there in the fact that it's because we just buy the same thing every year, that's why they don't bother changing it.
Exactly. I mean, that is entirely the problem. And I think until something changes, and I don't know what will cause that change, because obviously Sword and Shield was, like, one of the most successful Pokemon games or something along those lines. It
16 million last I checked.
Yeah, so basically every time, like, even though people were really, really angry at Sword and Shield, it still did very well, and so they're just gonna keep doing what's giving them money. Yeah,
but if you think about it, the criticism of this was very much a loud minority.
Yes.
Because, like, even if you look at all the people who shitposting just replies every day, that's a very small fraction of the 16 million that bought the fucking thing.
Yes, and I think that's something that also has an impact of sort of the vocal minority, and this accounts for everything. They're very, very loud, and so that sort of creates a perception of how the game is perceived, which, as evidenced by sort of its number of sales, may not be entirely accurate.
Well, this is just a thing in general, and the fact that this is kind of something we get from being online so much.
Yes.
In that we're surrounded by people who think like us. They have the same perspective as us, and we start to assume that because a lot of people in our circles see things a certain way, that's representative of the market.
That's confirmation bias, isn't it?
It's just like living in an echo chamber, really. It's just kind of... It's very hard to see outside of that perspective, even when you're like me and you go out of your way to follow as many people who disagree with things vehemently. But, it's kind of hard to gauge the actual beliefs of 16 million people.
Yeah.
And that is something that I don't really like throwing a bone to the developers in this sense, because it's obvious that a lot of this stuff wasn't handled well at all. But if you're trying to gauge what people want when you've got a fan base that everyone wants something different, you kind of have to meet in the middle somewhere, and that doesn't excuse the fact that parts of this were very obviously unfinished.
Yeah.
But when it comes to design decisions, like whether you stick to the 8 gym formula and have a Pokemon League and stuff like that, people like that, but also there's other people who prefer, like, say, the Sun and Moon approach, where they do something a bit different. And, like, you've got to pick something, please some people and piss off other people. And, like, when you're kind of taking the old formula and trying to rejig it a little bit like this, they kind of went all in on the gym challenge, and what that meant is that now the people who prefer the older games for their story, like the people who like Black and White for the story element and the more complex themes and questions that they were raising in that, they're completely alienated by this game.
Yeah.
And, you know, it is a balancing act, and when it comes to developers of large franchises like this, I can sympathise with that respect, but it's just kind of hard to, like, bear that in mind when there's other elements that are pleasing nobody. Like, nobody wanted cheap animations, you know. The only people who are supporting that are the ones who want to feel a bit better than the other gamers because they're the good gamer and they want to be the good boy who gets the verified checkmark.
You can say bootlicker's flame, it's perfectly fine.
That's one of the terms.
You may think, like, there's been a sudden turnaround in our opinions on the games as we were mostly positive throughout the main playthrough. Nothing's really changed, we're just focusing on an aspect we felt was undercooked, so to speak. Like, the good stuff is, I like the general art style, not so much the technical side of it, like the frame rate and stuff like that. The jaggers and so on could use some anti-aliasing and etc, and other graphical terms I don't really understand to this day. But stuff like that, quality of life features, the pool of Pokemon. I like the wild area a lot, like the raid system is cool, the gym challenge I love, all that stuff's great. But without a really, like, I wouldn't even say deep story to connect it all together, it does feel a bit flimsy. It's more like a tour of Galar than really getting in deep and learning the lore and whatnot.
Following sort of with that discussion, there's something that, as an idea, could be theoretically helpful to developers, and it's... like, this is me going sort of like marketing brain because I work in marketing and it's maybe a little bit sort of businessy and whatever, but bear with me. So, one of the things that I've been working with is a sort of type of content creation which focuses on data. So it's all about sort of going out there, finding out what your users want and creating something based around that, and you create content for the 80% rather than the 20%. Obviously, in a purely creative industry, which you could argue video games are, say for films and books and so on and so forth, you tend to sort of want to create something for you that you then share with the world. But and I'd say that approach works when you've got something that's a bit more auteur driven, so something like what comes out of Platinum Games, or Hideo Kojima, or what have you. Those types of games are developed with an approach of going, this is something that I want to create, and whether people enjoy it or not is a different kettle of fish. And those tend to succeed because you can tell the passion behind them. But when you've got something that's more like Pokemon, or something that is much more of a design by committee approach, I suppose, I think that it would be more effective, or potentially helpful, if they took that thinking about what are the users interested in approach, doing that discovery, and then basing their choices on what the data shows. Because obviously I think, obviously I've not got the data, but the data from Sword and Shield shows that people love the gym challenge, most people really loved the ending, but they didn't like the limited number of Pokemon. They didn't like the lack of story throughout most of the game. And so if you looked at that data, then those are the things that you would seek to improve on in the next iteration. And from obviously what they're doing with the DLC, it looks like they're already trying to partially rectify the kind of Pokemon pool situation. And so maybe they are sort of maybe thinking slightly in that way, but I think that it's something that potentially is an approach that Game Freak should probably think about moving forward, because that way they're more likely to create something that doesn't cause so many problems for so many people.
Well, I think Game Freak has actually moved into new offices since we last recorded, and they're like closer to Nintendo now. So I don't know if that's going to have any effect on development going forward, but it'll be interesting to keep an eye on. Oh, and by the way, yeah, another example of Undercooked story. We see Sonya's assistant, and in the very next cutscene, she turns out to be evil.
Yeah. Like, the fact that we were just talking about business stuff over the top of the big reveal, that kind of sums up how impressive that reveal was.
Yeah, it was very much a nothingy.
Well, they didn't even give her a unique model. It's the same scientist woman thing from the rest of the game.
Yeah, and we don't even know her fucking name.
Literally, we don't even know her name.
Yeah. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if, like, her in-game reference is, like, Scientist 2 or something like that.
Evil _ scientist. Bless. Alright, we got a bunch more raids, so, where shall we go first? Still on side, why not?
Yeah, we need to go back to the Foot Lady.
Her name is B, the Foot Lady, thank you very much.
Well, I mean, like, if I give her a title, it sounds more professional, right?
Professional.
Yes, that's the joke. Just because it's not funny doesn't mean I'm serious.
You know, Stow on Side actually does have a lot of stuff going up. Well, I say a lot. There's like a couple of alternate routes in the town where you can go up ladders and get on rooftops. There is actually a trade for a Hatterene here that I never knew about before, which would have been nice. Probably a better Hatterene than the one I took into the fucking gym, that's for sure.
Yeah, and also one of the market traders there is the guy who gives you the Beast Ball in this game, which will be very useful, of course.
For what purpose? Just to have it there, I guess.
Yeah, unless they're planning to do something with the Ultra Beast in the DLC or something, but I would imagine we'd have heard something about that by now if they were.
Yeah, like, pretty much every legendary and the Grandma is going to be in, like, the Crown Tundra and whatnot, but no mention of the Ultra Beasts themselves.
Unless they're just, like, leaving the door open for a possible 3rd or 4th pack, but that might be, you know, planning a bit too far ahead, given this is, for the most part, an annual franchise.
Maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, I think that, in the grand scheme of things, it might be a smart move, shall we say, for Game Freak to maybe think about sort of just focusing on DLC for the time being, add a bit more to Sword and Shield, give it a little bit more life, I suppose, and sort of give themselves a bit more time to plan for the next one, obviously if that is allowed as part of the process, because as we've sort of decided, although how accurate it is obviously up for debate, the Pokemon Company are very much adamant on the yearly release schedule that we seem to be on, so we'll see, but I think that would be a good approach for them to take.
I think they're in this weird situation now where, because Sword and Shield are undercooked in their base form, like the story is like just so rushed and whatnot, I feel like we probably do need a better base game, like maybe next year, that kind of is a bit more consistent, and hopefully they've got people planning out this stuff alongside the DLC this year.
Yes.
So that can still get a bit of a head start on that.
Yeah.
And then, like, if it becomes a factor of then each main game gets a year of DLC support rather than just pushing out a whole new game, that's probably a fair enough kind of compromise. Because I realise that in the world of business, we can't just let every game be some artist's passion project. That's just not how this works. But like, if you can let the committee's cynical business products come out with a bit more like polish after the fact, then that can work. Because if we were to try and implement a full-on supported DLC strategy with these games in the format they're in, the only way you could really fix the problems would be to end up doing a Final Fantasy 15 sort of deal, and I don't really think anyone wants that. It's kind of a bit annoying, and it kind of screws over people who have already put the hours into the game to start with. If you then replay it and suddenly there's new bosses, there's new stuff that's been fixed along the way, and it's basically a different game after the third or fourth patch.
Yeah.
Because I love 15. but God, that was kind of a bad business structure, I will say.
Yeah.
That's, have you seen the updated title screen for 15? It's just, it never ends. There's like so many options there now.
Well, yeah, I will say I played the PC version, which did come out with all the extra stuff patched in. The only stuff that was an extra purchase later was Episode Hardin. The other stuff just all came with it, but that was after it had been out on console for a good couple of years. So, if you bought it on PS4 when it first came out, then the game as it is today is a very different experience to how you played it.
Yes, I'm very aware, because I was one of those people who played it when it came out. I mean, I enjoyed my time with it, but, yeah, I didn't really have an inkling to want to go back and do the Royal Edition. But, I mean, I think I'm okay on that. I've got plenty of other things to be getting on with, but, that wasn't the best of decisions they've ever made, but a number of decisions made around 15 were not the best decisions they could have made.
Like cancelling the fucking DLC.
Well, but I think also they're in a difficult position because it was a game that was stuck in development hell, and clearly it needed something to just get it out there and get it done. But obviously removing Nomura from the project clearly struck a nerve with him there.
Oh man, Nomura's revenge will be sweet and it will be vicious.
Yeah, let's just say it very much looks like Versus 13 is basically going to be in Kingdom Hearts going forward, and I'm kind of here for it.
Same, mate, same. So,
well, not kind of here for it, I'm totally here for it.
Well, we're on the Kingdom Hearts train no matter what. I'll drag Helldragon in as many times as possible, but, it's mostly me and mostly you. Anywho, Bede's already kind of taken care of action here. There's a random EV girl in the background, pay her no heed, it's fine, we're not here for her. So, we're basically going to take on Bede this time around, instead of doing a raid.
Yeah, because he's got to prove himself as a gym leader, which, we did already fight against him in the tournament, but, let's make it official, do it in the actual gym. It's not quite the same without, the big league crowd, but, it'll do.
Just going to battle in the lobby then, I guess.
Yeah, that works too. Yeah, we've got the little girl dressed as an Eevee as our crowd. Oh god, it's so much worse when you go to this generic grey screen to battle him, guys. This
sort of thing triggered so many people, and I don't understand why. Maybe sometimes it comes off as laziness, shall I say. But just the simple concept of having a void to battle in isn't exclusive to Pokemon.
Well, they've been doing this since X and Y now. I feel like it's people who, they'd seen the stuff that admittedly is very janky, the animations and stuff, and then once you're in that mindset of, look, this is cheap, this is lazy, this is rushed, then other things start to jump at you more than if you're satisfied with everything else, and this is just the one bit that's a bit naff,
Well, let me tell you something that I learned from the discourse of my fucking shitty baby cartoon for children, okay?
Okay.
When someone has a grudge, when they have found something they don't like, everything becomes a problem to them. It doesn't matter...
Yes!
It doesn't matter if it's valid, it doesn't matter if it's biased. They will take issue with something.
Maybe your cartoon's just bad.
Maybe your face is bad. Shut up.
I know my face is bad. That's why I cover it with fucking hair.
Well, alright then.
But yeah, Tom, you are absolutely right. And if you hadn't brought that up as something from Steven Universe, I definitely would have done, just as a general principle of that's what tends to happen with people. It's a bit of general psychology.
As an addendum to that, I'm not saying all discourse is invalid. It's just that some people have an open mind, some people do not. And it's fine if you don't like something, but eventually you get to a point where it's well, what's that phrase? It's when you're mad at someone, everything they do is bad. It's oh, look at that bitch eating crackers over there. How dare she? Or something.
That's called being a petty bitch. I don't know if there's a word about it other than that, but
Fake fan, possibly? I don't know. We're getting too deep into this sort of thing, though.
No, let's keep going until you get proper mad, because that would be fun.
No, I cannot Dynamax within this room. I like this room, thank you very much.
Well, like, I know what headset you got. It's got a long cable on it. Surely you could just go out into the garden or something.
Well, it's a good job that it's got a long cable, because like I think a Ring Fit Quick Look is coming up soon, and I'm gonna need it.
Oh god!
Yeah, I do remember people in the Discord talking about that. Like, that would be a fun one for you, Tom. Yeah, like, you know, they actually encourage you to play that every day for, I think, half hour at a time. So maybe you could do daily streams going forward.
Maybe you could go fuck yourself, yeah.
No.
Can't get over just sending out this, like, space parasite in the middle of public.
Yeah. Well, actually, with that said, somebody, I think it was in one of the comments for one of the recent parts that went up, actually pointed out that Chairman Rose actually sort of got what he wanted in the end. Obviously, he hatched Eternatus to sort of spread the Dynamax Wishing Star energy across the world, and he wanted Leon to, you know, be there to catch it, to sort of control it so it didn't destroy everything. It just so happened that we were the ones that did that instead, so his plan actually succeeded.
Well, maybe he's not as dumb as we thought he was.
I feel like his intended plan didn't, like, end with him being put away, though, so maybe it didn't quite work out how he wanted.
Didn't work out how he wanted, but that doesn't mean that it didn't succeed.
Yeah, sometimes you got to compromise on these ideas. Like, yeah, you may be, like, essentially a war criminal or some shit, just letting out some beast that could annihilate everyone, but, you know, we still got the energy sorted.
Well, war criminals commit crimes in the middle of a war, mate. He's just an attempted mass murderer at this point.
Well, I mean, is it attempted mass murder when he was trying not to let people die? More like grossly irresponsible.
Yeah, grossly irresponsible, there you go. You are guilty of sending out this legendary. Boo to you. Pay 50 credits.
You're guilty of being a fucking moron.
You know, I like to get stuff done ahead of time sometimes myself, but, you know, if it's 1,000 years, maybe you can take a day off here or there.
No days off at work now.
Okay. Yeah, just keep putting in the grease, keep putting in the effort and whatnot, keep them cogs spinning, capitalism ho!
I unironically agree.
Oh, Lord have mercy. I haven't seen those two fucks for a while. I hope they're not committing weird crimes somewhere.
They're weirdos, of course they'll be committing weird crimes and talking about their amazing celebrity status.
And bottoms.
Yeah, they are just such weird characters, and part of me just looks at them and just goes, just what the fuck? But then part of me also just like, this is kind of hilarious, and I kind of love it.
Well, I don't hate them. I do find them entertaining. It's just they're very weirdly written.
It seems more like forced quirkiness rather than an endearing quirkiness, though. It's very hard to quantify what makes quirky writing what, but it doesn't feel as engaging to me as other characters that maybe have, like, the odd little thing to them. And it's hard now because it's fucking with me, because I know there are examples, but none are coming to mind of characters that do their thing but work better. But I don't know, something about these characters just doesn't really do anything for me.
I mean, I suppose part of that is because you can do forced quirkiness. I mean, like, I suppose an example would be Ricky in Xenoblade Chronicles, perhaps?
Oh, I love Ricky.
Exactly, like, that's a type of quirkiness where you kind of just go, I love that, but then equally, you're meant to love Ricky, whereas you're not meant to love Is it Swordbert and Shieldbert?
It's Swordword and Shieldbert, mate.
They should have just called them bloody Sword and Shield. It would have made life so much easier. It's what they call them in Japan. But so you're not meant to like them. So it's okay that their forced quirkiness isn't endearing, because you're meant to think that they're just weird assholes.
suppose this also comes into play with the whole, they're the post-game characters who kind of come out of nowhere, so it's not like they've had time to give them other character traits beyond that. It's not like they're otherwise interesting people who just have like this weird way of talking and this weird hairstyle or whatever. It's just they are defined entirely by, yeah, they're a couple of weirdos. Cool.
Well, that's HFC in a nutshell, and it's worked for us so far.
Yeah, but people tolerate us somehow. It's all good and chill, but don't seem to have that following.
Well, actually they do, because they're celebrities, and as we will see later, people apparently love them.
According to them.
It's weird how that only really appears in the post-game. Like, I admittedly did not go out of my way to talk to NPCs much, because I just wanted to get on with the gym challenge, but I heard hide nor hair of these two brothers throughout the course of my journeys.
Yeah, I think that's something that they probably could have and should have done, is actually sort of seed that. You see, I timed that quite well.
Nice.
Seed that with people a little bit more earlier on, in sort of make even sort of side references to them. Or have you heard about the celebrity brothers? Have you heard about sort of the descendants of the kings of Galar and what have you? Nothing sort of like really in detail, but just sort of make it something that you hear and you think, oh, okay, that's a thing that makes this world feel a little bit more lived in, so that when they appeared, you will go, oh, I know who these people are. They're those people that those people were talking about. Oh, okay, I get it now.
Well, the way I read their character is that they're celebrities by their understanding only. They're just bullshitting.
Well, I mean, there is also that.
Like, it's basically when I say on Twitter that I'm E-famous as a joke, it's like, it's funny because I'm a nobody. That's kind of the way I kind of read it from them.
Well, no, because they do have a following, is the thing.
Well, they get a couple of people later on, but it doesn't seem like they have a big following. They just have weird hair, and so people get curious.
That is how Jesus did it back in the day, I suppose.
No, I would imagine in that time everyone would have had long hair like that.
Yeah, depends on the person, I think.
Whereas I'm just lazy.
Yes, you are. Thank you, Gordy. Ever dependable, rock solid Gordy.
And your mum's still overrated.
Damn. The two might not get on, but you don't have to slander her like though.
I do though, because waifu discourse is the most fun kind of discourse.
Yeah, you're not wrong, mate. You're not wrong. Yep, let's get back to, what was it, Hammerlock? Yeah, the dragon place.
Yeah, that's how I remember it, because in terms of its layout, it's not got much going for it, aside from being the dragon place.
No, sadly not.
Like we talked about it at the time, but god, that is like the most underwhelming one of these, because like Hammerlock, it looks like it should be one of the coolest fucking places in the game, and it's just a straight line. Like, you know, when you talk about like the environments being a little bit underwhelming and that, this is the perfect example to go to in my eyes.
Yeah.
Quick heal, and then we'll be on our way. This is probably going to be what cements Freddy is going back in the box and being replaced by a legendary, though, I'm not going to lie.
Oh, this is foreboding. We have like 7 minutes of this coming up. Yeah, this might be where you could have done with catching that Gigantamax Crimson.
Well, this was after the fact, mate. This was after I had done the post-game.
I know, but I can still make a little jab and... Oh, hi, Sonya again.
You can poke a little jab as a treat. I'm just saying. We'll be going through there later, don't you worry.
Yeah, she's got to faff around with the controls for a little while first.
Yeah, you know, you can't just, smash through the doors.
They're made of metal, mate.
Well, no, but, like, you can find ways to open doors without breaking a lock.
We have a fucking Eternatus here. I'm sure he could break a metal lift.
Also, we have all sorts of Pokemon with all sorts of various powers, including ones that can melt through anything.
I want to see how tall Eternatus actually is. Okay, 65 foot 7 inches.
Big lad. What about the weight?
950 kg or 2,094 pounds.
Absolute unit, yeah.
So I'm trying to find sort of examples of things that are 65 foot, and basically the things that have come up are yachts. There are people who have 65 foot yachts. Someone came. There's an image of a building. Like, you look at these things, you just go. I just want like an easy comparison of 65 foot is sort of what.
Just settle with it's fucking big and leave it
Yeah,
at
like,
that.
I don't know what this tangent is meant to do in the grand scheme of things, Rich.
Neither do I.
It's nice to put things into perspective sometimes. If I can actually say the word perspective without stumbling over my word.
It's a hard word to say on the fly, Flame. I'm going to give you an out there, mate.
Yeah, okay, maybe that one, but not every second word I try to say.
Well, that's your own burn to bear.
I know. It might be me bugger teeth, it might be any of the other things wrong with me, I don't know.
Oh no.
Yeah, this ain't gonna work out too well. This is like peak I forgot he could do that moments though, aren't it?
I didn't expect him to have a steel move as the thing.
I mean, I suppose if he didn't have that steel move, this would have been a much more effective battle for Freddy.
Alas.
At least on the plus side, you have got a couple of backups now in sort of the form of Eternatus and Mr. Crime.
Indeed, mate, indeed. It's always crime time.
Yeah, and we need them fucking backups for how this is going.
Oh, goodbye, Freddy.
Are we gonna make use of the Dynamax, anti-Dynamax move?
I think we can have a little bit of the anti-Dynamax move here, why not?
Hey!
God, this Pokemon's gonna be so useless next gen, isn't it?
No, pretty much. Here, let me show you how a dragon is meant to operate. Sure he does!
Yeah, see, that did all that without having to like Dynamax itself. So yeah, I think Freddy's a bit redundant now.
Yeah. And I mean, that's not to say that Grimmsnarl's not a good Pokemon, it's just that, yeah, when you've got Eternatus and also the very strong likelihood of another legendary coming up pretty shortly in the grand scheme of things, yeah, nothing really compares to a legendary Pokemon. It's why they're banned in competitive play.
There you go.
Okay, that camera shot was there for a little bit longer than I would have liked, just saying.
Just go out on a date or something at this point, Jesus Christ.
Well, we don't want to cheat on Leon like that.
I have seen far too much gay hentai on the TL, thanks to Digi, and no, I'm not exaggerating.
That's it, blame Digi for what you look up in your own time, come on.
I could go to his feed and find some right now.
Yeah, you see, this is why I mute both Flame and Digi, because I don't need lewds on the TL.
Oh, this kid's having a great conversation here. What? Mute Flame? Yeah, my TL is fresher than ever.
My contribution to the TL is the best, and you know it.
It's over, Flame. The conversation is done. It is literally past tense.
Yeah, I know, and I'm just defending myself in the present. Come on, we got like a minute left. What else are we gonna do here?
True. This is actually kind of awkward. It's like she's literally like 5 meters down the corridor.
Yeah, like, she couldn't just run up to us and go, "Oi! They're coming! But then equally, that said, I'm pretty sure that I think you can tackle any of the stadiums in any order, so that'll be why that's done that way.
We're already here, you know. They just didn't want to have a cutscene of her, like, running forward, because that would mean the camera would have to pan. And again, minuscule, independent developer. Oh, Freddy.
Yeah, time, it's not going to do you any favours, mate.
The awkward 40 seconds before a part is over when you have to fill it out with transitional commentary. Lovely. My favourite parts of these playthroughs.
That's why I leave that part to you.
Sort my job. No cutscene. Small independent developer.
It's not funny. Come on.
Well, you're right, Flame. It's not funny in more ways than one, mate. But hey, here we are. Alright, guys. We'll see you next time when the post-game story of Pokemon Sword concludes. And we're going to have a word or two with those two weirdos. So, we'll see you then. Bye-bye.